not be signing a new contract. As you can see there, he says, that's absolutely true. As he said, that my agent and I have had a number of meetings with the club about a new contract. During those meetings in August, I asked for assurances about the continuing ability of the club to attract the top players in the world. I have never had anything but complete respect for Manchester United. How could I have not done so, given its fantastic history, and especially in the last 6 years, in which I've been lucky to play a part. It's all about winning trophies, as the club has always done under Sir Alex. But I think the questions I was asking were justified, he says. Now, with the usual trio of Eamon, Liam and John, can I ask you a question that I've been staggered by the hysteria and indeed some of the pejorative comments that have been made this morning. What is wrong with a player coming to the end of his contractual period looking for a better deal? Surely that is the essence, John.
Well, there's no problem about a player looking for a better deal. I think when you read Rooney's statement, he's not saying he's unhappy in this statement anyway about a deal. What he's saying in it is that the assurances that he was seeking for, I think, for the strength of the squad wasn't there. Now, I think, I'm talking about for myself, I think if he had said, I'm disappointed with the financial arrangements and I want to go, I would look at that with more credibility, Bill. But I think if
you're saying that statement has no credibility, is
well, I don't think it has the credibility that I think it should have. He's looking for assurances from the club. In other words, for the future. In other words, that they will sign better players, and he's not getting them. And at the same time, he's saying about Alex Ferguson as a genius and as a great manager. Well, in that case, why not give Ferguson a chance to rebuild the squad? Why not then do the best he can possibly do to play in the team and help it do well? That's the way I don't think.
Blindingly obvious that the money isn't there, and therefore the squad can't be rebuilt in the way that he would want it as a top player.
I think that's true, Bill. But I think if he is one of the key players, one of the best players, which he proved last year in the early part of the season, that he could do him doing his stuff and playing really well actually does carry the side. But he's not doing that at the moment. So I think what he's obliged to do, as paid by Manchester United, is to do the best he possibly can without looking for assurances for the future. That's. I think if he said, I'm not happy with the money, I would say, okay, he's not happy with the money, he's not getting the money he deserves, he's entitled to do that. I don't really. I think it's more complex than this.
All right. Before we go to Eamon, who has a very strong view on this, your view on what has happened and what has transpired, and whether or not there has been betrayal, as some papers suggest, or disgraceful.
Well, it's open warfare now, Bill. It's come out in the open. It's been going on for the last month or so beneath the surfaces. Rooney and his agent have been leaking things to the press that he's not been happy. Ferguson's come out and confronted that situation yesterday, and he's put the ball firmly back in Rooney's court by doing that. Now, I would agree to a large extent with John that that statement would have much more credibility had he said there was money involved as well. Because you know when agents...
But that's taken for granted though, isn't it?
No, it's not. No, he didn't say
Why isn't he honest enough to come out? And he didn't construct that statement. He did it with his people, probably a large corporation of people led by Paul Stretford, his agent. Now, when agents get players to move, they make a lot of money. And I think that's underlying in this situation as well. What they're doing is they're trying to exonerate Ferguson's position in this whole matter, and they're putting the emphasis on the Glazer family that they haven't got the money to invest in new players. But I do think it's down to money as well.
Well, first of all, in relation, this is a public relations war, and they want to get the fans on their side, both parties, more urgently, I would think, for Alex Ferguson and the Glazers. But the reason I'll tell you that there's no mention there of his unhappiness with the offer is he'd be accused of being greedy. And the idea that John and Liam seem to have, that at 25 years of age, a young man in this position shouldn't care about the evident decline and disintegration of the team around him. Don't forget, this is a player who's playing with Ronaldo and Tevez 18 months ago in a powerful team that won the Premier League and the Champions League. And, you know, he knows if he's an intelligent young fellow. I think he is an intelligent young fellow. It's a caricature of him that people put out there. But certainly him and his agent and the people that advise him will know that that club is in rag order, that they're buying players, cheap players, in the bargain basement, that they're not real contenders anymore, and they won't be for a very long time, for trophies. And of course they know also that in the top 20 players in the world, Wayne Rooney doesn't feature in terms of his salary. Adebayor is on more money than him. Yaya Toure is on twice as much money as him. So of course the player is entitled. This is the most important.
Chelsea players.
Well, the Chelsea, Frank Lampard is on more money than him. John Terry is on more money than him. Now, this contract.
Yeah, he's not mentioned money in the
No,
statement.
but
That's what we're saying.
Well, the reason he hasn't.
He hasn't got the moral high ground just to go on about the lack of resources going into the squad, because he's not playing well. He hasn't kicked the ball all season. So I don't think he's really got a right to come out and say that and not mention the fact that money's got an awful lot to do with it.
Well, I'll tell you why he didn't use. I'm explaining why he didn't.
He said he doesn't want to be portrayed as being
Well, now hold on a minute. I think rights. You're talking about rights. A player who served that club brilliantly. He scored 35 goals last year. He's carried them all the way to the Champions League, to the
He wasn't the only one. You mentioned Tevez and Ronaldo as well.
And you said it started last month. It didn't. These contract negotiations started in March.
No, there's warfare, I said.
The warfare, yeah.
last
The
week.
contract negotiations started in March, and it's clear that they're not prepared to pay him what he's worth. It's also clear to me, and I believe, that yesterday's press conference by Ferguson was a public relations stunt. I think a lot of the press bought into it. He talked about resting Wayne Rooney for the Sunderland game because he wanted to give him 10 clear days before he went to play for England. Everybody knows that Alex Ferguson doesn't like his players going away on international duty. Now, the key here is what right has Rooney's going to sign the most important contract of his career to take him from 25 to 29 years of age, and he's entitled in making that decision to take everything into account, principally his salary, but equally important, what kind of team am I going to be playing in, and what kind of relationship will I have with the manager. He's been provoked by Ferguson repeatedly in recent weeks. He's been left on the bench against West Brom on Saturday. I think he's a magnificent footballer, and in his statement yesterday, Ferguson implied, and in fact he said, that many, many times this player has been helped by us in matters to do with his private life. The implication of that was nasty and clear and disrespectful to Rooney, and Rooney refers to in his statement to being surprised by the content. Now, yesterday's stunt was bought into. Manchester United is a club in serious decline. He's a major asset. The Glazer family will get 60 million or thereabouts for that asset, and that's the name of the game.
All right, who buys into that? Do you buy into that, John?
Well, I think